You know, horror movies haven't exactly done well for themselves lately. This year alone, all horror and thriller films have fallen flat on their face, like the friend who said they would only have one drink. Worse yet is when other critics or companies have the balls to claim that so-and-so film or featured killer is the next horror icon, which is as worthless a statement as an activist's promise to solve a problem. However, not all horror movies get everything wrong and manage to squeeze out something that can be worth watching. And when it comes to being on board with a project, you can usually sign me up when the often reliable Ethan Hawke is attached, especially when it's a project reunion with Sinister director Scott Derrickson. And I enjoyed Sinister, despite its flaws, so let's see what these two can pull off. The Black Phone follows Finney, a bullied student of the local school in the Rocky Mountains in 1978. He shares a strong bond with his firebrand of a sister Gwen, and their day-to-day is threatened by the Grabber. If that isn't an awful name, the Grabber is a mysterious child murderer terrorizing the local town, kidnapping kids almost weekly, and no one has been able to get a lead, with the only clue being black balloons left at each abduction site. However, this detail was not released to the public, but it is known by Gwen through her insightful and prophetic dreams. This comes in handy when the Grabber abducts Finney and locks him down in a soundproof basement. Finney is not alone, though. Along with the bed, toilet, and a few odds and ends, there is the titular Black Phone, which despite disconnection rings, and on the other end are the ghosts of the Grabber's past victims. Helping Finney to survive, each ghost in turn tells Finney what to do and what to be cautious of that they themselves fell victim to. And with time running out, Finney must use all of his wits and the knowledge granted to him to survive this 5 nights at the Grabber's. It isn't often when I get to sort of enjoy a movie because the writing is actually halfway decent. I do like the coming of age and learning from the past themes. Which is a shocker because I'm not one to give theme more than 30 seconds to plead its case, but here the story weaves these themes into itself pretty well, and by the end it pays off for both the characters and audience, so I'll take the wins where I can. This isn't to say there are not goofs throughout the movie that made me facepalm like Captain Picard. At one point, Finney manages to escape the house briefly and scream for help. Now, this is 1978, so most people should be listening to their local news channel as intently as their pastor. So with the knowledge of a child kidnapper in the area, some vehicle roaring by, and a kid screaming for help in the middle of the night, you would think that more people would do something beyond just turning on their fucking lights for a few seconds. Like, people should be out forming patrol groups and looking for the kids as intently as the mob hunting down Michael Myers. But yeah, sure, let's just ignore the kids screaming for help, I guess. That's another point that I do not care for. This movie does not know how to be scary. Despite decent writing, the film cannot build to a proper scare to save its life, with as much tension as a pile of rope. Like, for example, just take Captain Dallas's death in Alien. He's fumbling around in the dark, being led by people who are also scared out of their minds with a device that's as accurate as a weatherman. And he's being hunted by the very thing he seeks to destroy until it finally gets him, concluding in a jump scare that was earned. The Black Phone repeats the mistakes so many other horror movies do nowadays by forgetting how to build tension. For example, Finney is on the phone talking to one of the ghosts, and the camera does the old follow one way then back trick. Despite being more obvious than an LED billboard at 2 in the morning, the camera pans back and oh look, there's the ghost kid accompanied by the entirety of the fucking brass section. Worse yet, this is an informative scene with Finney and us both learning more about what's going on since he's on the phone with a ghost. Like, we're not tense in that moment, so throwing a random jump scare into the mix tells me the heads behind the movie needed to remind the director that he was filming a horror movie. Not that this is helped by Ethan Hawke's snooze-worthy performance. I like to know the reasons behind a villain's actions, but I couldn't care less when this guy is just another McDonald's brand villain. Like, not every villain must have nuance, and black and white villains are often good enough if there's fun to be had, but when the Grabber just stands there with all the menace of a safety cone, then don't blame me when I'm falling asleep in the theater. Now, on the flip side, Hawke's lousy performance is countered by the child actors actually holding this movie together. Anyone under the age of 20 does a great job here, regardless of a few stilted performances with Finney and Gwen knocking it out of the park. Even many of the side characters do a good enough job. It's the adults that seem to be the underperformers here, although I'm willing to bet the short story this film is based on focused on the kids, so if that is the case, then like the child cast from the recent It, the film got this right. With decent writing, adequate characters, and child actors actually pulling off good performances, The Black Phone is one of the better horror thrillers I've seen recently. But the generic generic villain isn't very threatening, with a narrative that forgets to be scary almost the entire time. Compounded by a few logical mistakes to pad out the runtime, the overall film is a bit of a bore to get through. Not bad, but most people will probably forget it as fast as Pixar wants to memory hole Lightyear. Want to hear how Pixar screwed that pooch? Well, then click on the link here above to hear my thoughts on Pixar's monumental flop, and please subscribe to join my kingdom.